G'day everyone! Today we're going to talk about language maintenance and shift, one of the most important topics on social linguistics. Language is not just a tool for communication, it's part of our identity, culture, and history. But over time, languages change, mix, and even disappear. This happens because of language contact, multilingualism, and other social factors. Now, our goal today is to understand why languages survive, shift, or die out, and how people and societies can help maintain or even revive them.
Let us begin with multilingualism. Multilingualism is the ability to use two or more languages altogether. Now, there are two levels of multilingualism. First is individual multilingualism, which means an individual is able to use more than one or two languages. Next is societal multilingualism. This is when a whole community regularly uses several languages. Philippines is a very good example of this. You might wonder why multilingualism exists. Now, there are four main reasons for this. First is colonial history. Now, Philippines have gone through the Spanish and American colonizations, which brought foreign languages into Philippine society. To this day, the Philippine language still uses borrowed words from these countries. Next is migration and trade. People that are moving and trading with other parts of the world bring their languages with them and learn the languages of the people who they trade with and bring it home to their home countries. So through that, the integration of various languages into different cultures is done. Next is education and policies. Now, Philippine schools promote bilingual or multilingual systems. For example, elementary level in the Philippines teaches mostly in English, but there are subjects taught in Filipino like Araling Panlipunan or the Filipino subjects. And there are subjects that teach mother tongue. In our local place, they teach Bisaya to elementary students. Next is the cultural diversity. Now, there are different ethnic and regional groups in the Philippines. There are, again, over 180 languages spoken over the Philippines. And when this people with different languages come together, there is some sort of sharing, and the language of one another could be integrated with the different other person they are socializing with. Now let us move to the two key processes: language maintenance and language shift. Maintenance happens when a community continues to use its native language despite the influence of other languages. For example, in our local place, Bukidnon, most educational systems use English as their main language for teaching. However, they continue to teach mother tongue in the early elementary stages, which helps maintain the use of the language. Next is language shift. This occurs when a community gradually stops using its traditional language and adopts another. This often happens when younger generations prefer a more dominant or say prestigious language, or so they believe. An example of this is, say for example, a family moves to a city. They might stop teaching their children their local dialect in favor of Filipino or English languages. There are type of communities who are multilingual. First is the migrant minorities. These are the groups who move to another country or region. For example, Filipinos who live abroad start using the host country's language like English in the US more than the language they use at home. Next is the non-migrant communities. These are native groups in their own homeland but still shift to languages due to social pressures. For example, the indigenous people in the Philippines slowly adopt Filipino language instead of their ancestral languages. There are various reasons for this, but this contributes to the slow shift of language. Now, when language shift happens and continues to be practiced for generations, this is when it reaches the stage of language death. Language death is defined as an event where a language loses all its native speakers and is no longer used in daily life. Language loss, on the other hand, refers to the process of gradually forgetting or abandoning the language. Although these are two different concepts, language loss often leads to language death if it is not revived or maintained properly. Lastly, language revival. Now, we have discussed about language loss and language death. Now, when this happens, or this is already happening, there is something we call language revival, which is the process of bringing back an endangered or an extinct language into active use. This usually involves education, meaning it is to be taught in schools or educational institutions, community efforts, and official recognition. In order for this to be done, we should teach it in schools, publish literature and media in a specific language, and to use it in cultural or religious events to keep it alive. There are also there might also be support through the government policy, which can help strengthen the act of reviving a language.
So it's a continuation of the book. We have the chapter 4, which is the linguistic varieties from the multilingualism and language contact. Now, linguistic varieties came from the contact of different languages in some certain situation. For the first one is the vernacular. In the basic sense, this vernacular is the common or everyday language, general language of people in a particular locality, a dialect from different regions or society. For linguists, this is the unstandardized variety or the uncodified one, which have not gone through any codification process at all. And mostly it was acquired at home. And the next one, the contradictory to the vernacular, is the standard language. So, standard language is the codified variety of language. So, codified variety, a language can be codified through the process of grammar and dictionary from the lexicographer, which are the people who write dictionaries. And mostly, the lexicographers would take a small number of elite people and they would base the grammar and word formations from those elite people. And that in turns became the codified variety, which is used in different settings. In this time, in this time, it was called the influential language. In the Philippines, we have two official language, which is the Filipino and the English. Now, the Filipino language is called influential one because it was used by the powerful merchant group in Luzon back in the days. It was called the the prestigious language because it was used in the government, in the court, or in the media, may it be printed or in the internet right now. And it was usually chosen from among dialects from different regions in the Philippines that is supported by the government. We have the World Englishes, which was introduced by Katru. This is the separation of the countries which uses English. This circle have three circles: the inner circle, the outer circle, and the expanding circle. The inner circle are the countries which are the native speaker of English. The example would be England, Canada, Australia, United America. And the outer circle, these are the countries that uses English as their second language. The example would be the Philippines. So English became our second language. We have the expanding circle. These are the countries that learn English as their foreign language, which don't have any value of communications inside the country aside from attaining a higher education or in business, expanding their business in other countries. So these are the China, Japan, and Russia. People with different native languages, and they should have a common ground for them to understand each other. And that bridge is the lingua franca. For the meaning, lingua franca is a language or a way of communicating between people who do not speak their other native's language. Now, what if the situation is a society without lingua franca? Different people put together without any bridge or language that they can understand. So the pidgin was created. Pidgin is a simplified form of a language used for communication between people with different languages. So different people with different languages which does not understand one common language, which is the lingua franca. Now the pidgin have two trajectory. The first one is it would completely vanish. After the people, they have gone to different separate path. So the pigeon they created was completely vanished. However, if that pigeon was continually used and was then actually used by the next generation as as their native language, it became the Creole. Now the Creole, for the meaning, is a pigeon that becomes a native language of a new generation. It now then transformed into a Creole. One Creole that stand the current of time, which is the Chavacano that is found in Zamboanga. These are the contact, these are the linguistic varieties that resulted from the contact of different languages.